Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of the Call of Eagles 2020. I want to welcome those of you that are our guests today, joining us from different parts of the country. I'm going to be peeking and seeing what your businesses are, and I encourage you, as I'm giving this presentation, which should last approximately 30 minutes. The Call of Eagles is a weekly broadcast done around the world, and it is always a 30-minute broadcast, and it is always recorded. And so, pleased to have you join us today. My name is Anthony M. Butler Sr. I am the founder and international director of E3 Business Group. We are a support organization of entrepreneurs and professionals in business. We are also a partner with Eagle Soaring Management, which is a management consulting company, and Eagle Soaring Academy, which provides training and consulting for organizations, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and the SBA. So I am doing this today because I believe that with this challenge that we've all been facing, that there is a way for us to navigate through these challenging times. And the E3 philosophy is something that we use heavily to go about doing our business and go about doing our lives. And so I just wanted to give back in some way, shape, or form. And also, let's be honest, this is good business. Part of what I'll be discussing today is what I'm actually doing in practice with you, defining and developing our methods of navigating through these times. So, with that in mind, I'm going to get started. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, please share them in the chat. I will see them as I'm speaking. You won't distract me at all, and we'll try to handle all of your questions. This is being recorded, and everyone that is on the call will receive this recording directly. We also will have a Q&A session that will be bonus material for you that will not be recorded. So that will be something that we can talk and you can share your questions. We'll turn on your mics and allow you to chat with us. So one of the things that I've talked to entrepreneurs about over the past couple of weeks is, and because we are part of the Call of Eagles, we look at a lot of analogies with the eagles in the real world. And one of the things that we discussed is how does an eagle handle a storm? And whereas most birds will seek shelter, seek cover, we as eagles will ride through the storm and reach a higher level so that we're riding above the storm. And that's how real eagles do it. They actually take their wings, use all their strength, and they fly through the actual storm. They fly towards the storm, whereas other birds fly away from it. And then once they get above the weather, they watch the storm, and once it passes, they go back to their regular activities. And that is what we, within the E3 environment, E3 world, we purport and we operate with that mindset. So before I get started, I want to make sure you understand what E3 is. Very briefly, it's a philosophy that we use in all aspects of our life. And it goes like this. We as a people need to educate each other in all aspects of living. We as a true family should then encourage one another to set goals and define clear objectives. We then and only then are empowered people, forging our own roads to success, not settling for anything less than our collective best. We take that approach in everything that we do, in all of our decisions, and normally in the way that we operate our different projects, events, and services. So that is the foundation of what I'm going to be sharing with you today, and I hope it resonates with some of you. So when we think about, the coronavirus and COVID-19, businesses closing, the country closing, the world coming at a standstill, it's kind of challenging as a organizational leader. And it doesn't matter whether you have a nonprofit organization, whether you have a for-profit organization, are you an individual community advocate, are you a leader? I deal with political figures, military officers, educators, people that are in state, local, and federal government, and of course, small business owners and large business owners, Procter & Gamble, Adobe, Microsoft, you name it. At some point in time, I've dealt with them, Harlem Globetrotters, wherever. Over my years, I've found that the mindset for business does not change regardless of the size of your business. And As I talk to entrepreneurs and receive calls from people saying, what should I do? How should I focus? How should I move forward? There are a couple of things that kept coming out. And the first one is, I have some notes here. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. Don't dismiss your temporary measures. In other words, many of you have adopted ways of doing your business or working your organization um, during this time of crisis. And let's get real for a second. We're not going back to normal. We're not going back to normal. And you hear a lot of people, and I was guilty of this initially. Let me be transparent. A lot of people saying the new normal. There is no new normal. We're not there yet. The new normal may be months away, maybe years away. We don't know what normal is going to look like moving forward. What we do know is, as we say in Baltimore, which is where I hail from, it is what it is. The situation that we're in now is where we're at. And looking at things with a lens of, oh, this is a new normal, this is the way it's going to have to be forever, that's not true. If you look at the past 10 weeks, new normal has changed every week and now every day as the activities of our national leadership and people changes daily. So we have to go into this, we're looking at what's working for us now as working for us in the foreseeable future. And if you have not defined that, if you have not figured that out, then that's something we need to look at. So to get started with this, and what I'm doing right now is the Call of Eagles. I'm not doing anything special or different than we would normally do. So I want to make sure those of you that are our guests today, you're getting that this is what we do. The first part of the Call of Eagles is always an action task. And an action task is something that I want you to think about, I want you to look at, and we actually go through this task. We believe in doing, not just talking. And so the action task for this week is basically a 3-step process. The first thing is I want you to take a moment and define and display your market relevance. So what does that mean? Okay, that's great. Dana, whatever it is that you do in your organization, in your business, this is the time that you need to define what that core activity is. And that core activity may not be what it was before COVID-19. Once you define what it is, you need to be able to display why it's relevant to your market right now. Okay? This is not marketing as in flyers and Facebook posts. We can do all of those tasks later on. That's the weeds. But on a high level, everyone here has a talent or ability that God has given them. And by the way, we have no problems mentioning God and business at the same time in the Call of Eagles. It goes hand in hand, and so that's how we deal with it. But that talent and ability that is within you is something that allows you to prosper or feel you could prosper within your business. So what does that look like now for you? Take a good hard look at what your business is able to do well right now. And for most of you, it's something in the virtual space, or is something that it really is expanding your business in a way that you didn't anticipate. For instance, I see Tia on the call. It's one of our entrepreneurs out of Florida. I see Colleen on the call, another E3 member out of Florida. Both of them have embraced the ability that they have to teach, to consult, to counsel. And that's not something initially that they were looking at doing within their business models. It's something that over time they've developed. They may or may not be fully comfortable with it, but it's an aspect of who they are and what they do. That's a talent and an ability. It's not something that they had in their model. I remember sitting in a strategy meeting with Colleen when she was forming her business. She said nothing about teaching or consulting or doing workshops. And yet she has done a workshop on a national level. Once you define who you are and what your business can be right now, not what it was 6, 8 months ago, but right now, the next step is to display that to the public, making yourself relevant. And you make yourself relevant by making sure that you understand what the public needs from you. Sometimes what they need from you is not what you want to give. I want to give everyone knowledge on how to take their business to six figures. I want to take six-figure business and give them the knowledge that helps them go seven figures. Right now, the reality is I need to teach entrepreneurs and those that are in business how to keep their doors open. That's how I'm becoming relevant, by talking to people about what allows them to survive this process, what allows them to think themselves through. They don't want to hear how to make $1 million. They don't want to hear how you can secure all these contracts. Later, maybe. But right now, they want to know, how do you keep the lights on? How do you keep the rent being paid? How do you make sure that the next time you have some capital expenditure, that you're in a position that you can do what you need to do to keep your business or your organization running? That's a reality. That's the market relevance that I have to manufacture for myself. I need you to look at the same thing for you. And if you're not sure what that looks like, at the end of this call, when I say the mics are open, ask. I work at my optimum when you start throwing questions at me and I can think off the cuff. That's my talent and ability. So utilize that. I'm your consultant for the day for as long as you stay on. Once you identify what your talent and ability is as a business for right now, and that means if you're a one-person entrepreneur, you're a small business with 2 employees, or your organization that has 50 volunteers, I need you to spend time right now cultivating it. There is no better time than crisis to make moves that can alter your quality of life and your success ratio. Success versus failure, success versus effort. And you see at the bottom, for those of you that know about SOS Band, I love them. It's a SOS thing. Take your time and do it right. We are in this for the long haul. So there's no point to rush in making rash and brash decisions. Take your time, think through what you're doing, run it by people that you trust. They don't have to be in business. Matter of fact, for me, some of the best people that I run ideas by are people that have no clue about business, but they have a lot of common sense. Utilize that. Make sure that is a part of your mindset. So again, your action task is very straightforward and simple. Look at your business offering right now, what you're doing that's working for you right now, and define how you can take that and leverage it so that it becomes regular, so that it becomes every day, even after we're through this season, through this storm. Okay. So the next part, which is more in depth, is our exercise. And the exercise is something that we do on the Call of Eagles all week long. So I want you to think of it like this. Imagine if you operate at a high level every week in one area, every week. How would you look at the end of the year? How would your business look? How would your relationship look, your marriage look, your time with your kids? Whatever you do, imagine if you did something at a high level every week and focused on it. You'd have to be a better person than you are the week before. And that's what we do with the Call of Eagles every week with this exercise. The approach this week that I have, and anybody that's been on the call, they know I love my acronyms. I call it the SIPS approach. I've never taught this or shared this before, so I hope it resonates with you. The first thing, S, strategize for the short term. Okay. Many of you have competitors or the people that you think are competitors. In the E3 world, we say there is no competition. Everyone is out here and there's more than enough money for all of us to make. If you find yourself competing against someone, you're losing your focus. Just focus on doing what you need to do. The money will come. The achievements will come. The changing of people's lives will come for those of you that advocate for a better quality of life. And you want to look to your competitors, because everyone that you see out there doing what you do, they're doing something well. If you see somebody, whether it's a commercial or you're reading something on Nextdoor or you're seeing some posts and somebody is up here surviving and achieving, don't look at them and hate on them. Reach out to them. How are you doing this? Humble yourself enough to say, I'd love to know what you did to get yourself to the point where you're still doing business at the level you're doing. Or how did you make it happen where you still have these supplies? I'm having a hard time finding them. And do it in the spirit of being prepared to give them something back. In other words, collaborate. Don't force other people to compromise for you, and don't compromise for other people. I don't believe in compromise. When you compromise, somebody is kind of shortchanging themselves, right? Somebody is saying, "Okay, I'm going to do this so that we can get along." No, think it through. Be a little bit more diligent in your process of figuring out how can you truly make this a win-win for each of you. Because if it's a win-win for you, it's a win for the customers. It's a win-win-win. And that is what's important. Negotiate new deals. This is the perfect time to approach your landlord and make a new deal for your rent. Landlords are open to deals. Now, they're not looking for you to just fleece them, right? They want their money, that's their business. But if you come to them with a well thought out proposal, and one of the things I would suggest is looking at stair step leases. Stair step lease is where you sign a lease, and let's say, for instance, you're in a lease for 1 year right now, and you know that the location that you're at, you plan on being at. Well, a stair step lease would be you going to that landlord and saying, "Look, I want to go ahead and re-sign now for another 2 years. And I'd like to create a stair step where over the next 3 months, I'm paying 25% of the rent. The next 3 months after that, I'm up to 50%. And then the next 3 months, I'm 75%. And then at the year, I go to the full amount of rent." This is done all the time with large companies, all the time. And so if you are offering them a longer tenancy, they're more willing to give you terms that work for you. They're not going to adjust their model if you're only going to be there for a year and your lease is up in 6 months, and yet you're saying to them, "Hey, give me a couple months." No, that's only 4 months remaining for them to try to accrue their revenue. So looking at how and what they need and then factoring in what you can give makes them much more amenable to giving what you want. Make the move you have been saying you would do one day now or any day now. Uh, Normally, when we have crisis, it's a time where action is required, right? Crisis demands action. And so I know some of the biggest moves that I made came when I was at a time of crisis. I had no choice but to make a decision, to move on something, to take a chance, to take a risk. That's what entrepreneurs are, ones who take risks for financial gain. So if you're on this call as an entrepreneur, that's a part of your DNA. It should be, or maybe you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, did I get too real? I apologize. Um, I ignore the long term. Now, look, traditionally, we're taught banking, finances. They're always asking you, what are you going to do in 3 to 5 years? You're in school. What's your 5 year plan? What's your 10-year plan? That goes out the window right now. Okay. You're not going to hear many people say what I'm saying. I know this. I know this. It's okay. But I want you to consider it. Why would you look at what you're going to be doing in the next 3 to 5 years when you're not even sure what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 months? And for some of you, the next 3 to 5 weeks. This is a time for you to be realistic and look at what is happening right now and focus all your energy, all your attention, all your talents on now. This is where you need to be in the moment, in the present. What's going to happen in 3 to 5 months? Once you get a sense of it, then you can start thinking. Because in 3 to 5 months, that thinking will be your short term thinking. 3 to 5 years, let's see if we can get through the 3 or 5 months. Let's see if we can get through 12 months. And then if you want to start looking at that, there'll be a time for you to go back to those projections. But I am telling everyone that relies on me for guidance, concentrate right now on what needs to happen in your world right now. Forget about long term, because long term, the landscape for long term is not even defined right now. Does this make sense? Okay. And please, as I'm talking, if you see something or you hear something that either resonates with you or doesn't, if you have an aha moment, if you have a problem with something I'm saying, please throw it out there. I'm glancing at the chat. I see Dana putting in her information now. I appreciate that. So I am watching what's going on as I'm talking. All right. So that's the first half of the SIPS approach. We're taking sips, right? We're not gulping this situation. We're taking sips. That's where that comes from for me. Next, P. Practice, perfect, and produce. When you have a sense of what you're doing and how it's going to go, start doing it. Start doing it. Just, I always love the greatest slogan ever created by a company is Nike's Just Do It. It just really is. That's what you want to be doing right now. Do it. It may work well, it may not, but that's why we practice, right? When you were little and you wanted your first sports team, for those of you that did sports, you remember those young teams, or you watch your children playing a sport, and you're looking at them, they're just running up and down the field. You're like, oh my goodness, I spent the hour watching this. But what are they doing? They're just practicing. It's not that serious, right? Wish we could tell some of those parents on the sideline. It's not that serious, but they're practicing. And as they continue to do it each year, you look at them and now they're in a higher league at a higher age. And you're like, boy, I remember when they couldn't even pick up the ball, or they couldn't even kick, or they couldn't even run a block. And now look at them going to the state championships. That comes from practice and perfecting your craft and then producing at a high level. That's what we need to do. Once you have something that you can do, tell it. Tell people about it. Make sure they know you're able to do this. Don't wait until you think it's perfect to do it. That's how we get better. Did you know that McDonald's changed the formula for their fries 6 times? Now everybody loves McDonald's fries. We don't even know all the time when they changed the formula. I remember one time they changed it. Everybody knew about it and made news. But other than that, there were 5 other times where McDonald's changed the ingredients, the formula for making those fries. Kentucky Fried Chicken changed their ingredients for doing Kentucky Fried Chicken at least 11 times. Why? Because they wanted to perfect it and they needed to practice. And as they practiced, when they got it wrong, new Coke, anybody? Coke Zero? They had to go back and retweet it and tweak it and make it the way it is. The funny thing about Coke Zero, just a little aside, is that was a tremendous failure. And once they took it off the market, they had so many people complain that were people that had never drank Coke before. But they liked this Coke Zero new Coke, that Coke eventually brought it back 6 years later. And now it's one of their top sellers. They found a niche market that they were never selling to that happened to hate the regular Coke. And even though the majority of the people hated the new Coke, they achieved new market share because they got a whole new group. Practice, perfect it, produce it. And then you want to repeat the process. Everything that you're doing within your business, as you find it is working well, keep doing it. If you find it's not working well, it's okay. It's all right, Dorothy. If that cake doesn't come out quite the way, and if you know, I see Dorothy on the call, we say Rum Cake Matters. She's amazing and she does ship nationwide. Check her out. Check her out. And that's another reason why you want to be on the Call of Eagles, because if we see you on there, we get the word out about you to all the other entrepreneurs that have the mindset. They think like you. Everybody on this call thinks proactively. That's why you're on here. Love that. That's a perfect segue to the final S in this approach. Step with confidence. Walk with common sense. Look, I said earlier, we're ones who take risks for financial gain. You can't be timid in this game. You can't be looking at this crisis saying, oh, woe is me. Everything is going to heck in a handbasket. We don't have time for that. I need you to look at what you can do versus worrying about what can't be done right now, because you can't control what can't be done right now. Businesses aren't open the way they like to be open. Can't control it. Let's deal with what we can deal with. Do what you can do. If you have the talent and you normally are touching people with your services, how can you do that same touch mentally and emotionally? How can you provide them with the same help? If you're used to processing paperwork hand and face to face, how do you do that in a way that takes advantage of the technology that we have? Or how do you do it still old school? I have a business that is in Columbia, Maryland, and they are right now going through a campaign where they're dropping off samples to over 500 residences in neighborhoods that they have never been a part of. This came out of a strategy meeting I did last week. Strategy meetings are hour-long sessions that we do as a part of E3, part of their membership. That's another story. Ask me later if you want. But out of this strategy meeting, they got this idea and they went to 5 neighborhoods that they never had been in before. They took 100 houses in each neighborhood. They had 500 samples that were sitting on their shelves. And I said, you know what? Let's give those 500 samples to 500 people that you know have no clue about who you are. Go to a zip code you don't know, go to a neighborhood you don't know, and they are driving around in their car with their little magnetic sign on their door, and all they're doing is putting the sample in the mailbox, putting a card in, and the card says, stay safe, remember us, we're here. Brilliant. I didn't come up with that. They did. I just gave them the idea of going to 500 different houses. And I think now they've been doing it for 1 week, and they're doing a neighborhood a week. That's how they're doing it. I think they've already received 15 calls for their product. 15 calls from 15 brand new people that even if half of them actually buy, that's 7 new customers, 50% of a new area. I don't think y'all understand it. By just doing it, by walking with confidence, by making moves that just make good common sense, by looking at your shelf of products that's sitting there, and instead of you lamenting about how you spent this money on this product, looking at it and saying, well, who can I give this product to? You might as well give it to somebody. I've got another group that they have all this product. I'm about to suggest to them, you know what? I want you to donate this project to different churches, different organizations, and just let them know you're here. Because when this storm passes for everyone, they will remember you. And if they don't remember you, you send an email to remind them of you. There's no shame in that. Glad you survived everything that was going on. It was so gratifying for us to be able to help you out during your time of need. We hope that you'll remember us and keep us in mind for your next fill in the blank. I'm trying to tell you, this is not hard. There will be missteps along the way. There will be things that you do that you couldn't anticipate. Look, you're not perfect, right? Practice perfect, and produce. You're not perfect. We're not expected to be perfect. We won't ever be in our business. All we can do is the best that we can with what we have. And the best that we can may be better than what we're doing right now. Changing your mindset will enhance your methods. And if you enhance your methods, your market will grow. And again, this is not popular stuff you're going to hear from wherever. This is not canned. I don't get my stuff from the internet. This is what I get, I receive, and I pass on to you after 25 years of doing this and learning and having plenty of mistakes. And people that are on the call know that when I have a mistake, I own up to it. I tell them it's tough sometimes. Growing is hard, I know. But I usually end up stronger. That's just a motivation. It attempts to encapsulate what we talked about. And it's something that you can print out or you can just refer to during the week to keep you in the right frame of mind. Remember, this is 1 week of focus action. And I am challenging everyone on this call today. Do it. Do it for this week. If I don't ever hear from you again, that's fine. We crossed paths once, that's cool. But do this and see whether it makes a difference in what you do. So the phrase of the week, I'm going to read it twice. First time I'll just read it through. The second time I'll take my time. I live in a time of change and acknowledge these changes are here to stay. I recognize my vision for success is dictated by my mindset and my methods. This week, I will take a focused approach to emerging from my storm. I will define where I make a difference and display why we remain relevant as an organization. I will take SIP's approach in my business and my life as I begin to learn how to soar after the storm. Now, I'd like to say this again. I'm asking those of you that are comfortable, close your eyes, hear what I'm saying, and just take it in. I live in a time of change and acknowledge these changes are here to stay. I recognize my vision for success is dictated by my mindset and my methods. This week, I will take a focused approach to emerging from my storm. I will define where I make a difference and display why we remain relevant as an organization. I will take SIP's approach in my business and my life as I begin to learn how to soar after the storm. I hope that you will reflect on this phrase of the week every day and make it happen, make it so. For those Trekkies out there, because they make it so. That's what I want you to do. It's your dream, it's your reality to make. Straightforward, very simplistic. Um, I hope this was something that made sense to you. You can see there the E3 philosophy. I want to thank John Carter III of Design Effects, another great young business out of the Florida region, and for doing this little graphic piece for me. The E3 philosophy means a lot to me. It's been a part of my life for almost 30 years now. It is also available to you. You can see underneath the presentation that I'm doing, there's a files pod, and it has a speaker's bio in case you want to find out a little bit more about who I am and why um, I may be qualified to share this information. And then the E3 philosophy itself, just for you to have so you can remember it or share it. I want you to consider investing in yourself with the Call of Eagles. I hope that you will take some time to consider being a part of this. We meet every week, every Saturday at 7:07 a.m. And then it's recorded so that you can then refer back to it. We have a group on Facebook. We have a group on Google Hangouts. We're developing a group on LinkedIn. But the key is we'll get this information to you so that you can build from it. There's a library of 3 years worth of videos, and we may